Good morning, sir. I'm Rubia. It's
Hi.
really great to have the opportunity to speak with you today. On this fantabulous day, we have the special guest among us, Mr. Paul Backus, who is the alumni of the school. He took admission in the school in the year 1967 and left in the year 1971 to settle in England. After about 50 years, he has revisited our school. So shall we begin?
Yes.
So, moving on to my first question. Can you speak to any particular strengths or areas of excellence that our school is known for, and how those strengths have impacted your own life and career?
Well, I can give you two answers. A short answer or a long answer. How long do you have?
Short answer.
Short answer, okay. Schools in England, they're very different. We don't have as much of outside life. You know, yes, there's playtime and things like that, but I always remembered here there was the freedom for children to run and play and interact with each other a bit better. You know, and the other interesting thing I found here was that there was different religions, different cultures. You know, you had Hindus, Sikhs, and all this stuff mixing together. Nobody thought anything different. That was nice. Whereas today's world is a different world, isn't it? You know, people think, oh, you're different from me, I'm different from you. So I think it was a better time, you know? But that's the world all over, isn't it? Really, you know? It's all over. I hope that answers some little bit to it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's an insightful response.
Yeah.
सर मैं आपसे पूछना चाहूँगी जब आप इस केंद्रीय विद्यालय में पढ़ते थे जब भी यह केंद्रीय विद्यालय ऐसा ही था या फिर हमारे केंद्रीय विद्यालय का विकास हुआ है?
अच्छा, विकास का मतलब क्या होता है?
डेवलपमेंट।
डेवलपमेंट। मतलब आपका अगर ये बदल गया स्कूल वैसे?
Yes.
No, बिल्कुल वैसे ही है, बिल्कुल वैसे ही है। दो तीन चीजें of course बदली हैं। आपने कहा केंद्रीय विद्यालय एक।
Yes sir.
उस जमाने में कहते थे सेंट्रल स्कूल। मैं आपने प्रिंसिपल में बताया कि इसका मतलब तो एक ही है, लेकिन मैं नहीं समझता था केंद्रीय विद्यालय मैं नहीं जानता था ऐसे। हम सिर्फ कहते थे सेंट्रल स्कूल। ओके। और स्कूल जब प्राइमरी स्कूल फिनिश हुआ, यहाँ बैरक्स में हुआ था प्राइमरी स्कूल, फिर बाद में ये बना अपना दूसरा स्कूल था, ये प्राइमरी स्कूल के बाद में चेंज हुआ। इससे बने के पहले मैं चला गया था वापस इंग्लैंड। और इस प्राइमरी स्कूल से पहले एक स्कूल था दूसरी तरफ, मिसेस सिंह फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल के घर के साथ ही था। वहाँ खेत थे, आई रिमेंबर खेत, मूली के खेत में जाकर मूली पड़ता था, बट और वो स्कूल सिंगल बिल्डिंग्स थी, वो भी बैरक्स जैसी थी, वो बनी थी ऑफिसर्स क्वार्टर्स, और वो टेरेस वरांडे थे वहाँ, बहुत बदला था। फिर बाद में जब ये स्कूल बड़ा स्कूल यहाँ आ गया, छोटा स्कूल भी यहाँ आ गया बैरक्स में, बाद में चेंज हो गया। सो पता नहीं मैंने अच्छी तरह एक्सप्लेन किया, लेकिन फंडामेंटली इतना नहीं बदला। थोड़ी आर्मी थोड़ी क्लोज होगी, क्योंकि पहले तो ज़मीन बहुत थी, यहाँ पीछे बहुत खुली ज़मीन थी, यहाँ खेत थे, उसके आगे भी खेती बाड़ी होती थी, और ये में कह सकते हो कि नई डेवलपमेंट थी। और अब मैंने देखा यहाँ सोल्जर्स वगैरह हैं, बैरक्स में भी ये सब। सो बट द स्कूल फंडामेंटली वैसे का वैसे ही है। टीचर जब बदल गया, नहीं तो टीचर तो बहुत ही पुराने हो गए, और स्टूडेंट बदल गए। सो डिड आई आंसर? मैंने अच्छा जवाब दे दिया?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Reflecting on your time at your school, were there any particular teachers or staff members who had a great influence in your personal as well as professional journeys?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I was too young to remember all the names. It was such a long time ago. If I was to see old photographs and see the faces, I would know. I remember Mrs. Singh, the first principal. I remember her. She was a nice lady. We used to see her walking around all the time. She always wore a white sari, small lady. But in terms of impact. You know, it was a different world. They were stricter then, I think. You know, teachers aren't allowed to discipline. You have to be very careful about disciplining children. And it's true, it's good. You know, it's a good thing. But in those days, you know, we got
Yes.
you know what is murga? To become a murga? You don't. Do you know what a murga is? You know, when you say acha murga bano bas murga.
Yes, sir.
You know?
Yes.
Do you know?
No.
No, you don't. Oh, right. Well, if you were a naughty boy, well, every day at school in the classroom, somebody was naughty. Maybe they wasn't paying attention to the teacher, or maybe they were saying something, so they had to come to the front and move up on them. So that is where you hold your ears behind your legs like this. Yeah. You're shocked, yeah? Of course, you can't do that now, you know? But in those days, that was common. But it was never painful. We used to laugh like this, you know? But that's how it was in those days, you know? So those kind of changes have happened, you know? And of course, technology has come a long way. You have a lot of technology now, you have computers, you have laboratories, you have science and everything. It was very different, you know, in those days. It was books and that sort of thing. But, I suppose, you know, those are the changes I remember clearly. You know? But, I hope that's answered.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting.
सर, आप हमें अपने स्कूल टाइम की कोई ऐसी घटना बताएंगे जिसमें आपको बहुत मुश्किलों का सामना करना पड़ा हो और वो आपके लिए बहुत यादगार रहा हो?
अच्छा, एक बार प्लीज।
तो कोई ऐसी घटना जो मतलब आपके स्कूल टाइम में आपको बहुत मुश्किलों का सामना करना पड़ा हो और वो आपके लिए आज तक
घटना क्या होता है?
ट्रेजेडी।
Tragedy. Yeah. And to be honest, I missed my parents as well. I missed my mother because I was sent from England. I came from England for a few years, and I suppose my parents, उन्होंने ये सोचा कि भेजेंगे इंडिया। उस जमाने में different source था ना। वो सोचते थे कि इंग्लैंड भेजेंगे, उसको थोड़ी पंजाबी आएगी, हिंदी आएगी, थोड़ा कल्चर समझेगा, लेकिन whereas nowadays you wouldn't do that. आपको बच्चों को थोड़ी भेजेंगे, people don't do that so much. So I missed. That was difficult. I missed that, but I remember my accident on the road, and I remember going to hospital. Well, I remember the car. I remember the lady. I remember being in the back seat, and I was in her head. My head was in her lap. I'm looking, whoa! And she's with this cloth on her. She was terrified. I saw her face and I cried even more, you know. And I got to hospital. It was a small army hospital. It was a white building with a red cross on it. And I remember they laid me out and they cleaned and they said, oh, his eye's okay and everything. Because I thought maybe I lost an eye. I would be like Jack Sparrow now, wouldn't I? You know, the fracture was there. So they were okay, very good, and they stitched it up and everything. So within 2 weeks, well, after a week at home, I was bored. I want to go back to school, you see, because I'm bored, you know. So within 2 weeks, you know, accident, stitch, back to school. Yeah.
Drawing upon your own experience, how have you used the knowledge and skills you gained at our school to make a positive impact in our community or in the world at large?
Well, I think it's very difficult for an individual to say personally, I made this impact. It's for others to say that, isn't it, really? To say, yeah, you made this impact, I made this impact. I think, but when I had the rare opportunity of being able to experience Indian education in Indian schools, as well as experience English education, because when I was 11, 12, I went to school in England, you see. So I was able to, I'm one of the few that can directly compare the two. Aside from, of course, the buildings differences and the standards, etc., etc., I thought the education here, well, I'll give you an example. From a young age, I learned here about, you know, the Indian soldiers fighting in the Second World War, First World War, and we always knew that 1 in 6 soldiers in the Second World War were from the Indian continent. Yeah, and we knew this, that they were actively involved in all the fronts, so I don't know if you studied this at school. They were actively involved in all the different areas of school. But when I was in England, we learnt nothing about this. It was all about England. It was all about England and how England fought Germany. So it was like a different history. I was learning a different history, a different version of history. And I think that was, that was a surprise to me. I thought, why am I learning this? What about this? What about? I remember saying to a teacher, yeah, but miss, there were Indian soldiers, there were Indian pilots, Punjabi pilots with turbans on, fighter pilots and things for the British Army. And she was saying, no. So, it was a bit of a propaganda. I found that it's changed now, but in those days. So the British system, they had their own way of trying to promote their own sort of way of thinking. Whereas here, I found that quite interesting. And there's some other things as well. I can't articulate into words, but I don't know if I can find the words for that, but I think that I might stop here, otherwise I'm going to say something I shouldn't.
That's great. You overcome all the challenges in your life. Perfect.
Okay, thank you.
सर मैंने सुना है आप किसी किताब पर काम कर रहे हैं, तो सर उस किताब के बारे में कुछ बताइए।
मैं अपनी लाइफ स्टोरी के बारे में बता रहा हूँ। आप छोटे हो, I have to be careful what I say, but it's about a biography about my life, because my mother's English. My father is a Sikh, and my father decided I should have Indian culture, so I went to DPS in Shimla, a boarding school there. I was 4 years old when I went there. I was there for 3 years, then another year somewhere else, and then I was sent here. So I spent a few years here. So it's basically drawing on my experiences, some good memories, some sad memories, sometimes. Of course, all children get sad, miss your parents, don't you? Nobody says, my mum and dad's not here, great, yeah. They want to go to mum and dad. It's natural, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So I'm writing about that, my feelings and things. School, how I enjoyed the school, write about my accident, my relationship at home, and just the weather. It was a different world then. The school, I'm sure, is much more stricter now in some ways. But in those days, there was a dirt road on the other side of the school, and there was cake everywhere. And sometimes the cake had mullions growing there. I used to love going to the mulli. I remember the first day, first week or so, I was at the school, and one of those students, Manoj, I think his name was, he said, so we went across to the fields here, and we went in, looked at a well, looked down a well, like this, really deep well. We shouldn't have done that. And then he said, he pulled this thing up like this. It looked to me, I thought it was a carrot. Yes. Big, long, white thing. I said, oh, you can't stop this. And we washed it and it's every day I ate muli, every day. Since then I loved muli ke parathe as well. Fantastic, But so I have a lot of memories. So my book will be about my experiences there, and of course the 1965 war to 71 war. I was there between this time. So during this time, I don't know if you know about that, but Indo-Pak war between 65 and 71. So I was here 2 years after that, before 71. And that was quite important because it could be considered a dangerous area because there was a lot of soldiers here and things, and we're so near to the border, So those experiences, seeing the world through a child's eyes, how it was, how people were. You see, you have technology now.
Yes.
Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, everything like that. What did we have?
Just your own self.
Nothing. We didn't have television in the house. Sometimes the electricity would go off. People put candles. Not candles, dive. You know what divas are?
Yes.
Put those on. We don't have radio, we don't have television, we don't have anything. But we have one thing which was the best in the world. What it was?
What's that?
Cinema. Every 2 weeks we used to go to the cinema. And the cinema was the best experience in the world. It was like a different world, Have you seen cinemas nowadays?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You know, some of them look old and empty now. I don't mean the new ones, but the old ones, yeah? Well, if you imagine on the front, hundreds of rickshaws coming, children coming, families coming, that's our Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, everything in there, yeah? And you have samosas, pakoras, you know, you buy what you want before you get your seat in the cinema. You know, that was a fabulous, fabulous time. The smells rising up into the air, you know, pakora and stuff, and then intermission, waiting for intermission. You know when intermission's coming because you can smell the pakora is cooking outside, you know. What's going to. So all these memories that come back to me. The rain, when it used to rain, we used to travel in rickshaws. And when the rickshaw canopy is like this, we're trying to be like this, you know, so we don't get wet, you know, in the rickshaw. And then when we used to come out of school, because the roads were like this, you would get water. So we had to, you know, walk between them and then get to our rickshaw, you know. It was, they were all happy times. So all those experiences I want to draw together because I think that would be an interesting, hopefully for somebody, maybe interesting. Maybe they'll think it's rubbish. I don't know. Maybe it's only interesting for me, I don't know. But it's an interesting time, I thought, in history.
Looking ahead, what advice would you give to our school's leadership and faculty as they continue to shape the school's future?
Do you mean advice to the teachers or to the advice to the students?
I mean about how our school has been performing and what are the things which are needed to be improved.
Well, do you think I have the right to say something about them?
No, but you have the right to advise us.
Well, I suppose bring an English school here. Really. I mean, the school does what it can with the facilities they have, don't they? You know, you might go to a school in another part of the world where they have absolutely nothing, just books and papers. They don't have computers, they don't have laboratories, they don't have anything. Does that mean those children are not as clever as the other ones? No. It makes no difference, does it really? You know? Because most of the education is done. These technology things are all modern now. Fundamentally, it's between the teachers, the families, and the students, isn't it really? That's the main thing, isn't it? So I wouldn't feel comfortable giving them advice because, you know, they know what they're doing, you know. But it's nice to know you don't have to be a bully. That's good. They don't punish you in that way. That's good. You know, in a bad way. So that's a good thing. The rest nowadays, a lot of it is in responsibility of the parents as well, isn't it? You know, in our time, if the teacher hits us or anything, if we told our parents would hit us even more. You see, It's different. You know, it's a different world. You know. So it's a very, very different world. 50 years, a lot has changed. So many things we did then, you can't do now. Many things now are very different. So, you know, the school's doing well. I had a good look around, good facilities, good everything. And you know, it's sunny, it's beautiful. You know, it's beautiful weather. You imagine England, you know, it's dark at 4 o'clock. It's cold all the time. You can't go outside. You sit in the classroom all the time. It can be like that, and then rain all the time. Here you've got so much exercise to keep fit and everything. So it's a good place. It's a good place. You know, it's a good school. So, and I'm sure they're going to continue to improve. You know, I've seen the improvements in the last couple of years. I'm sure they will continue to improve and you know, produce some good students, and hopefully a lot better than me.
Your answer is really thought-provoking.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your time and assistance.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking not too difficult questions.